So my today's topic is Ranjit Dev and the rise of Jammu Kingdom. So so if we go through the history of Jammu, अगर हम जम्मू के इतिहास को देखते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि अगर हम जम्मू के इतिहास को देखते हैं तो देखते हैं कि महाराजा गुलाब सिंह के पहले भी जम्मू में एक एमिनेंट रूलर हुए हैं जिनका नाम महाराजा रंजीत देव था। और रंजीत देव जो थे उन्होंने इनफैक्ट ही वाज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट नोटेबल रूलर टू रूल जम्मू बिफोर महाराजा गुलाब सिंह। और he played a very important role in the history of Jammu. In fact, he was the one who sowed the seeds of the Jammu kingdom. And Maharaja Ranjit Dev jo the, he became the ruler of Jammu in 1733, and he ruled till 1782. And this was the period, it was the period which was most crucial period as far as the history and of Punjab and its neighboring hill principalities is concerned. Neighboring hill principalities including Jammu is concerned, क्योंकि ये जो पीरियड था इसमें हम देखते हैं कि बहुत सारी मेजर डेवलपमेंट्स हो रही हैं। और इस पीरियड में सबसे पहला और इम्पोर्टेंट जो डेवलपमेंट हो रही है वो ये था कि मुगल साम्राज्य का पतन हो रहा था, या द मुगल पावर जो थी इट वाज डिक्लाइनिंग। और दूसरा इम्पोर्टेंट जो एक डेवलपमेंट हम देख रहे हैं कि फ्रॉम 1739 ऑनवर्ड्स अफगान इन्वेजन स्टार्टेड। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दीज इन्वेजन्स जो थे दे वर लेड बाय नादिर शाह, एंड देन from 1748 onwards it was led by Ahmad Shah Abdali. एंड द थर्ड इम्पोर्टेंट जो एक एलिमेंट था या डेवलपमेंट थी इस पीरियड में वो ये थी कि देयर वाज द राइज ऑफ सिख मिजल्स। एंड द सिख्स जो अब तक पहले मुगल्स के साथ लड़ रहे थे, अब उनके सामने अफगान्स जो थे एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज बनकर आ गए थे। सो इसका जो इन so there was a tussle between between these three parts for attaining their hold upon Punjab and neighboring hill principalities. So this was the scenario, or a political scenario of Punjab in the 18th century, and it was the result of this tussle between these three parts was that there was the political power was totally shattered in Punjab. And it was in this confusing scenario we see the rise of Ranjit Dev. Ranjit Dev who ruled Jammu. We see the rise of Ranjit Dev, and Ranjit Dev who not only successfully started the process of the expansion and consolidation of the Jammu Raj, but it was in fact he, अगर हम जम्मू की हिस्ट्री में देखते हैं कि गुलाब सिंह से पहले किसी ने जम्मू को एक पॉलिटिकल आइडेंटिटी दी है, then he was Maharaja Ranjit Dev of Jammu. And immediately after his accession, we find that ki Ranjit Dev jo the, he started his expeditions in plain. And in this context, we find that he attacked the territories as far as Gurdaspur, then he invaded Shakargarh, then Sialkot and he overran the country on both sides of Chenab as far as Gujarat. And he also attacked the forts of Kulubal, Kotli, Munawar and Bajwat. All these were on the banks of river Chenab. So by conquering these areas, Ranjit Dev jo the, he almost put a stop to the communication between Lahore and Kashmir. इन एरियाज को कॉन्कर करते हुए हम देखते हैं व्हेन ही कॉन्कर्ड दीज एरियाज तो द कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन द लाहौर एंड कश्मीर इट ऑलमोस्ट स्टॉप्ड. एंड G.C. Smith in his work the reigning family of Lahore has written that कि not only Ranjit Dev he conquered these areas, but he also attacked and killed the harkaras or messengers who used to take the messages from who used to take I'm sorry, there is lot of disruption in the...
Yeah, Dr. Varsha, we can hear you loud and clear.
I can actually, there is lot of disruption in the presentation. बहुत सारी disruption हो रही है. I can hear the voices, the people who are joining this meeting.
We can see the
Hi
presentation.
Lalit, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see the presentation.
We can see the presentation.
There is lot of disruption. I am not able to speak properly.
But everybody else is muted other than you, so it could only be your computer which has some background noise.
इसमें
Only
से ना
you
जो
are
भी join कर रहे हैं ना आवाजें आ रही हैं.
आपकी आवाज क्लियर है बिल्कुल.
मेरे को डिस्ट्रप्शंस हो रही हैं, बीच में साउंड्स आ रही हैं, आवाजें आ रही हैं. These are आ रही हैं. So I was telling you that कि Ranjit Dev जो थे, he ascended the throne of Jammu when the political situation in Punjab and the neighboring hill state was quite precarious. It was very crucial because यहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि तीन, मैंने आपको पहले भी एक्सप्लेन किया है कि तीन एलिमेंट्स जो हैं, तीन इंपॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट्स हो रही हैं, जिसमें कि मुगल्स का डिक्लाइन हो रहा है और अफगान्स के इन्वेजन्स हो रहे हैं और तीसरा सिख मिजल्स का राइज हो रहा है. So there was a tussle for power between all the between the Mughals, Afghans and Sikhs. और इसमें हम और इसका जो कॉन्सिक्वेंस हो रहा है वो ये था कि पॉलिटिकल पावर जो है वो टोटली शैटर्ड हो गई इन रीजन्स में. और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट इसमें ये था कि all these three, the Mughals, Afghans and Sikhs, they regarded themselves as the claimants to the sovereignty over the Punjab and the neighboring hill principalities. और स्पेशली मैं इसमें मेंशन करना चाहूंगी कि जो सिख्स थे, दे वेरी ऑफन इन्वेडेड एंड प्लंडर्ड द टेरिटरीज ऑफ देयर नेबरिंग हिल चीफ्स. वी हैव सेवरल इंस्टांसेस कि व्हेन जम्मू was plundered, the Sikh measles जो थे, the Sikh chiefs जो थे, they made incursions in the territories of the Jammu and they plundered the town of Jammu. So amidst this confusing scenario, we see the rise of Ranjit Dev. And Ranjit Dev jo the, he not only successfully carried out the process of the expansion and consolidation of Jammu, but in fact he was the ruler. He was the even prior to Maharaja Gulab Singh, he was the ruler. अगर महाराजा गुलाब सिंह के पहले अगर किसी ने जम्मू को एक political identity दी है, तो he was Ranjit Dev. Immediately after his accession, Ranjit Dev जो थे, he started his successful expeditions in plains. और इसमें हम देखते हैं कि he invaded the areas as far as Gurdaspur, then he even invaded Shakargarh, Sialkot, and he overran the country on both sides of the Chenab as far as Gujarat, which is the part of Punjab and now is in Pakistan. And इसके साथ साथ हम देखते हैं कि he even attacked the forts of Pulawal, Kotli, Munawar and Wajwat and stopped the communication between Lahore and Kashmir. And G.C. Smith, in his work The Reigning Family of Lahore, he has written that not only Ranjit Dev, he conquered all these areas, but he even attacked and killed the Harkaras or the messengers who used to take the messages from the royal court of Delhi to Lahore, Peshawar and Kabul. And thereby Ranjit Dev, he posed a serious challenge to the Mughals. और उसका रिजल्ट ये हुआ कि he was summoned to the Lahore, and at Lahore वहाँ पे he was made hostage by Zakaria Khan, who was then the Mughal governor of Punjab. And in his absence, we find that his younger brother, Mia Gansar Dev, his younger brother, Mia Gansar Dev, he acted as the regent of the Raja of Jammu. And Narsingh Das Nargis, in his Tarikh-e-Dogra Desh, has written that during this period, Mughals, they launched an attack upon Jammu. And a fight took place between the Jammu chiefs and the Mughals near Mira Sahib. And in this fight, the Jammu chiefs, they gave a tough resistance to Mughals, and the Mughals, and they also inflicted heavy losses upon the Mughals, and the result was that the Mughals, they had to retreat back. However, in 1747, after the death of Zakaria Khan, Ranjit Dev was released. And again, we find that he immediately after his release, he again began to pursue his imperialistic ambitions and carried out his policy of the expansion of Jammu. In the year 1752, we find that Ahmad Shah Abdali, he had conquered the larger part of Punjab and included in his the kingdom of Kabul. In other words, we can say that he cut off a big slice of Punjab and Punjab territory and included it in his kingdom of Kabul. And as a result, the supremacy of the Mughals over the hill principalities and Punjab, it came to an end. In fact, we can say that it was almost an exit of the Mughals from the politics of hill states. यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करना चाहूंगी कि हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज के बारे में बताना चाहूंगी कि हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज इस पीरियड में हम देखते हैं कि देयर वर 3 ग्रुप्स ऑफ हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज. वन वाज द कश्मीर ग्रुप, which included the Kashmir and its neighboring principalities, and second group जो था that was the Jammu group. Jammu group जिसको सेंट्रल ग्रुप या डुगर ग्रुप भी कहा जाता था, और तीसरा ग्रुप जो था वो था त्रिग्रत या जलंधर ग्रुप जिसको बोला जाता था, और जिसमें कि हम देखते हैं कि नूरपुर, चंबा, कुल्लू, all these hill principalities were included in that group. तो इनमें से जो 2 ग्रुप थे, एक जम्मू ग्रुप या डुगर ग्रुप और त्रिग्रत का जो ग्रुप था, they were in close proximity to पंजाब. तो जिसकी वजह से हम देखते हैं कि पंजाब में जो भी पॉलिटिकल डेवलपमेंट्स होती थी उसका एक सीधा इम्पैक्ट जो है वो जम्मू ग्रुप के ऊपर इन ग्रुप्स इन हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज के ऊपर भी पड़ता था. तो इधर हम देखते हैं कि जब अहमद शाह अब्दाली ने पंजाब का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा जो है उसको कॉन्कर कर लिया और उसको काबुल में उसने इंक्लूड कर लिया, अपनी किंगडम ऑफ काबुल में इंक्लूड कर लिया, तो एक सुपरमेसी जो थी मुगल्स की, क्योंकि ये सब हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज थी, जो हिल प्रिंसिपैलिटीज थी वो अकबर के टाइम से हम देखते हैं कि they were included in the Mughal Empire. They were the part of the Mughal Empire because Akbar जो था, he subdued all these hill principalities and included them in their in his empire. So इस टाइम पे हम देखते हैं कि the supremacy of the Mughals over the hill principalities, it came to an end, and in fact it was almost an exit of the Mughals from the politics of the hill states. Now प्लेन्स में अब क्या हाल था? प्लेन्स में ये हाल था कि although Abdali has included the major portion of the Punjab in his kingdom, but Maratha invasions and Sikhs, they rendered it impossible for Afghans to fully establish their authority in Punjab and its neighboring regions. As a result, lawlessness prevailed in the plains. Now, the hill chiefs, they took the advantage of this lawlessness and chaos in the plains. And not only they asserted their independence, but also they made efforts to resume all the territories of which they were deprived during the Mughal rule. Now, this was comparatively easy for them. अब ये उनके लिए ज़्यादा easy था. क्यों? इसके पीछे ये एक बहुत बड़ा reason ये था कि अफगान्स का रूल जो था वो पंजाब प्लेन्स में it was very weak. और अगर हम हिल स्टेट्स की बात करते हैं तो इट वाज प्रैक्टिकली नॉमिनल इन हिल्स. सो टेकिंग एडवांटेज ऑफ ऑल दिस सिचुएशन, रंजीत देव जो था, he soon began to make his power felt in the hills, and he asserted his supremacy over the hill states between Ravi and Jhelum. And there are 2 important sources in which we get a long list of the hill chiefs who submitted before the authority of Ranjit Dev. One of these sources is the Gulabnama of Diwan Kirparam, और जो दूसरा सोर्स हमारा है वो है ब्रजराज पंचासी का. ब्रजराज पंचासी का जो है इट्स ए मार्शल बैलेड, और ये जो बैलेड है ये लिखी थी रंजीत देव के कोर्ट पोइट जिनका नाम कवि देवी दत्त था. इस बैलेट में we get an information about the expedition of Kangra by Jammu. And this expedition जो था, it was led by Brijraj Dev, जो कि who was the Yuvraj Brijraj Dev, who was the son of Ranjit Dev. And in this expedition, a number of hill chiefs, they accompanied Brijraj Dev. So both Diwan Kirparam as well as Kavi Devi Dutt, they give a long list of the hill chiefs who submitted before the authority of the Ranjit Dev, or among those who submitted to Ranjit Dev's authority were the Rajas of Chanani, Hamtal, Krimchi, Guler, Badarwa, Baddu, Basoli, Bandralta, Jasrota, Mankot, Nurpur, Rajauri, Bimbar, Raja of Mirpur, and in fact, there were many more. So it was in his reign, it was in the reign of Ranjit Dev that a popular saying arose in the hills that Baiya che Jammu Sardar hai. That is, the Jammu is the head among the 22. So it was Ranjit Dev. Thus we can say that it was Ranjit Dev who made Jammu a political unit and gave it a political identity and paved the way for. So we can say that it was Ranjit Dev who made Jammu a political unit and gave it a political identity and paved the way for the final absorption of these hill states into the Jammu Raj by Maharaja Gulab Singh. Or in other words, we can say that Ranjit Dev was the ruler who prepared a platform for Maharaja Gulab Singh. या सिंपली हम कह सकते हैं कि उन्होंने एक नींव जो थी वो महाराजा गुलाब सिंह के लिए तैयार कर दी. एंड बाय 1773 वी फाइंड दैट रंजीत देव जो थे उन्होंने एक एक्सटेंसिव जो है किंगडम वो क्रिएट कर ली. एंड बाय 1773 रंजीत देव जो थे उन्होंने एक एक्सटेंसिव किंगडम क्रिएट कर ली थी. एंड वी फाइंड दैट कि साउथ वेस्ट में अगर हम देखें तो उनकी जो किंगडम की बाउंड्रीज थी, इट स्ट्रेच्ड एज फार एज गुरदासपुर, शकरगढ़, सियालकोट एंड गुजरात. एंड इन द वेस्ट दीवान कृपाराम राइट्स दैट कि the hill states of Rajouri, Mirpur, Khari Khariali, Munawar, they had accepted the sovereignty of the Ranjit Singh. And in the north, Bhadrawa and Kishtwar, they had accepted the sovereignty of Ranjit Singh. And now Ranjit Singh, in addition to these, we find that a number of hill states have, as I have already told you, a number of other hill states, they have also accepted the sovereignty of the Ranjit Dev. So Ranjit Dev was therefore the first Dogra ruler who almost rounded up the limits of the Dogra territories of Jammu. Now under Ranjit Dev not only expanded his territories, but he established peace and security in his dominions. Under Ranjit Dev, Jammu came to be known as Dar-ul-Aman. It's a Persian term. Dar means abode, ul of, Aman, peace. So Jammu became the Dar-ul-Aman or the abode of peace. जैसे मैंने पहले भी आपको बताया कि पंजाब में there was anarchy and chaos. तो इसकी वजह से हम देखते हैं कि every creative activity जो थी पंजाब में this chaos and anarchy, it brought to a standstill almost every creative activity in the Punjab, it brought to a standstill every creative activity in the Punjab. The lands were deserted, trade and commerce and industry was also deserted. The peasants and the artisans, they sorely needed protection. और इन सब के बीच में एक जो redeeming feature था वो था कि peace and prosperity which prevailed in Jammu under the Ranjit Dev. Now and Jammu जो था, it came to be known as Dar-ul-Aman. And we find that attracted by the peace and the prosperity of Jammu, many refugees from the plains, they migrated to the Jammu, and they took shelter under the dominions of Ranjit Dev. So among we find that there were took shelter in the territories of Ranjit Dev. And in the words of Ganesh Das Vadera, here I want to quote Ganesh Das Vadera. So Ganesh Das Vadera writes that Ganesh Das Vadera in his Rajdarshini has written that a number of refugees, both the political as well as the merchants and traders, as well as the common people, they took shelter in the territories of Ranjit Dev, and Ranjit Dev, he gave shelter to them without any distinction, without any distinction. And among the political, and here and G.C. Smith writes that a large number of people with the influential people, they took shelter in the territories of Jammu. And among the political refugees who took shelter in the territories of Jammu were there were Malika Zamani, who was the queen of Emperor Muhammad Shah. Then there was the widow of Mir Mannu or Muinul Mulk, who was the Mughal governor of Punjab. His widow, she also took shelter in the territories of Ranjit Dev during the time of Ahmad Shah Abdali's invasion. Then we find that there was Hari Singh, who was the Diwan of Mir Mannu. He also took shelter in the territories of Ranjit Dev. इसके साथ साथ हम देखते हैं कि दलपत राय, who was the Diwan of the Mughal governor of Punjab, Yahya Khan, as well as Kabuli Mal. He was Ahmad Shah's Hindu governor. In 1764, he was expelled from Lahore, and he too took shelter in the dominions of Ranjit Dev. Similarly, in 1763, Charhat Singh Suket Chakya, he sent his family to Jammu, where he also concealed his wealth at the time of Ahmad Shah Abdali's invasion. And not only the nobles and important political personalities were given shelter by the Ranjit Dev, rather we find that he extended his protection and patronage to the merchants and traders, artisans and displaced persons of all castes and creeds without any distinction. With the result, the Jammu became popular all over North India as a safe place of refuge, that is Darul Aman. In that age of political instability, so we can say that in that age of political instability and religious persecution, Ranjit Dev jo the, he extended his protection to all irrespective of caste and creed. And many Muslims, they also found shelter in the dominions of Ranjit Dev. And Ganesh Das Vadera in his Rajdarshini has written that many of the Sufi saints, they came and they settled in Jammu. Among them, there were Mia Sufi Shah and Khairi Shah, whose tombs were situated near the tomb of famous Sufi saint Pir Mitha. And not only this, we find that full religious freedom jo thi, it was given to the Muslims. And Ranjit Dev, he also set apart separate quarters for them. In this context, George Foster, who was an employee of the English East India Company, and he passed through Jammu in 1783. He writes that, I just want to quote him. He writes that, I quote, Ranjit Dev protected and indulged his people, particularly the Muhammadans, to whom he allotted a certain quarter of the town, which was then denominated Mughalpura, and that no reserve might appear in his treatment of them. A mosque was erected in this new colony, a liberty of disposition the more conspicuous and conferring the greater honor on his memory, as it is the only instance of the like tolerance in this part of India. He was so desirous also of acquiring their confidence and esteem that when he has been riding through their quarter during the time of prayer, He never failed to stop his horse until the priest had concluded his ritual exclamations. So we find that as a result of these migrations, we find that not only the Jammu expanded area wise, but we find that there was also a growth in the population of Jammu. And G.C. Smith in his work, The Reigning Family of Lahore, he has compared the growth of the Jammu during under Ranjit Dev with the year 1846 when he was writing this his work. So he writes that in the year 1775, the town of Jammu had increased to about 3 miles and a half in circumference, which was being about twice as large as 1840 as in 1846, and its inhabitants then numbered 150,000, more than 4 times as many as inhabited the town in 1846. And another important development which we see in Jammu during this period was that the confusion and disorder on the plains, it also diverted the trade to the hills, and many wealthy merchants had sought an asylum and established their business due to the safety and security in Jammu. And in fact, Ganesh Das Vadera in his work Rajdarshini has given a long list of the Punjabi Khatri merchants who came and settled in settled in Jammu during the reign of Ranjit Dev. And in this context, Ganesh Das Vadera, he writes that, I just want to quote Ganesh Das Vadera. He writes that because of the peace and security established by Maharaja Ranjit Dev in Jammu, a large number of people, they migrated to the Chakla of Jammu. And among them, there were many Punjabi Khatri merchants who set up their business houses in Jammu. And Ranjit Dev provided them security and full security. And as a result, the Jammu, it grew into a extensive commercial resort. And then and we find that not only the merchants, they migrated to Jammu, and we find that a large number of artisans and craftsmen, they too migrated to Jammu. And Ranjit Dev, he himself realized the importance. He recognized the utility of these artisans and craftsmen who migrated to Jammu. Ranjit Dev, he realized their importance. Ranjit Dev ने ये realize किया कि they were very important as far as he realized their utility for the flourishing, for expanding the, I'm sorry. Here, Ranjit Dev, he realized the utility of these artisans and for a flourishing town of Jammu. So under Ranjit Dev, Jammu जो था, it was made a commercial hub. And एक और बहुत important aspect जो इस time पे हम देखते हैं वो ये था कि as a result of chaos and anarchy in the plains, the ordinary trade routes which passed through the Punjab plains had become unsafe, and the merchants and other travelers proceeding to Kashmir they and northwest frontiers, they preferred the route which passed through Jammu. This route, it entered the outer hills near Nahan. Then from there it passed to Bilaspur. From Bilaspur, the next stop was the Nadan. Then Nadan, from it passed to Haripur or Guler, and then Nurpur, and finally to the Basoli on the Ravi. And from Ravi, this route passed through Mansar and to Jammu. And this was really an old route which was in use in the time of Al-Bruni. Al-Bruni, he came to India along with Mahmud of Ghazni, and he followed the same route when he went to Kashmir. And even Taimur, in his autobiography, Malfuzat-e Timuri, writes that when he came to Jammu, he followed this route only. So this route has probably fallen more or less into disuse in the settled time of the Mughals. So during the time of Ranjit Dev, this route was again revived by the merchants and the traders. And by this route, we find that George Foster, he too traveled in 1783. And about he writes that about this route, he writes that about the importance of this route, he writes that previous to the Nadir Shah's invasion of India, the common road from Delhi to Kashmir led through Sirhind, Lahore, and Hirpur. And since the inroads of Pathans, Afghans, and the Marathas, but especially since the period of the Sikh conquest, that track has been rendered unsafe to merchants and is now disused. This obstruction diverted the Kashmirian trade into the channel of Jammu, which being shut up from the Punjab by a strong chain of mountains. Difficult of access to cavalry, it has been preferred to the Lahore road through the journey, though the journey is tedious and the expenses of merchandise increased. So George Foster लिखता है कि though this route was difficult, but this route was safe because Ranjit Dev, he had ensured complete freedom and security in his dominions. Therefore, although this route was tedious, the expenses of merchandise were much more in this route, but Ranjit Dev, with the merchants, they preferred this route because of the peace and security which Ranjit Dev provided in his dominions. So as a result, the town of Jammu, it flourished under Ranjit Dev, and in the words of George Foster, this made Jammu a place of extensive commercial resort where all the descriptions of men experienced in their person and property a full security. And in fact, this route which passed through the Jammu, it could be regarded as the heritage route because this route was in use since the time of this was an ancient route which was followed by the caravans which came from the other parts of India and proceeded towards Kashmir. Because as early as in the 11th century, Al-Bruni, he is mentioning about this route. In fact, he himself followed this route when he went to Kashmir. So next important जो एक development हम देखते हैं या एक important feature जो देखते हैं हम रंजीत देव के time में वो ये था कि महाराजा रंजीत देव जो थे, he was a very as a ruler, he was a very he was a man of greater administrative ability, and he was known for his justice and impartiality. In fact, therefore, everyone, right from George Foster to Frederick Drew, they have praised him for his lofty ideals, impartiality, religious tolerance, wise administration, and they had praised that it was Ranjit Dev who established peace and prosperity in his dominions. And there is one very valuable source which testify that the Ranjit Dev was a very good administrator. This is a dispatch which was received by the British Governor General at Calcutta on 19th April 1780. This dispatch states that, I quote, "The said Raja Ranjit Dev is distinguished for his courage and valor, and is also so just and kind to his royals that the inhabitants of the Punjab and the Doab, that is the Gangetic Doab, have since the times of Nadir Shah's invasion always found a safe refuge in his country from the tyranny of the invaders." And I unquote. And the informer further added that he knew of no people from Attock to Delhi who lived more free from fear than those of Jammu. So this dispatch speaks volumes about the good administration of land under the Ranjit Dev, of Jammu, with good administration which was established by Ranjit Dev in Jammu. And one of the cause of the security of the life and property at Jammu was Ranjit Dev's love for justice and respect for the rights of the people. And many stories of his impartial justice has been narrated by Ganesh Das Vadera in his Rajdarshini, and which were current in Jammu Hills as late as in 1846. In fact, Ranjit Dev, he brought reforms in the administration of justice. He made justice so prompt and easily available that that an age-old practice of para, which was prevalent in Jammu, it came to an end. इस practice में क्या था कि whenever the justice was delayed, especially whenever any Brahmin he failed to get the justice, वो क्या करते थे कि he would give up eating and drinking, or they used to observe fast until death in order to attract the attention of the ruler. So when Ranjit Dev came, he made justice so prompt that this age-old tradition of age-old custom of para, it died out. And not only this, Ranjit Dev, he also kept the official corruption and oppression in check. He himself used to ride through the streets of his capital city of Jammu and listened personally to the complaints of his people. And not only, and we also find that Ranjit Dev jo tha, he was also a great social reformer, because from the Rajdarshini of Ganesh Das Vadera, we find that he vowed to eradicate 7 crimes from the Jammu Hills. Or उन 7 crimes में there were 2 major crimes. One was sati and other was female infanticide. Generally इस टाइम पे हम देखते हैं कि फीमेल इन्फेंटिसाइड और सती जो थी दे वर वेरी कॉमन प्रैक्टिसेस स्पेशली अमंग द राजपूट्स. तो रंजीत देव जो थे उन्होंने एक वाव लिया कि वो इन इविल प्रैक्टिसेस को अपने डोमिनियन से इरेडिकेट कर देंगे. और इसमें हम देखते हैं कि उन्होंने लोगों के सामने जो सबसे जो एक एग्जाम्पल जो सेट की, वो अपनी एग्जाम्पल सेट की. गणेश दास वडेरा ने लिखा है कि ऑल्दो रंजीत देव जो थे उनके 2 बेटे थे, but फिर भी he prayed for the birth of a daughter, and a daughter was when a daughter was born to him, she was brought up with care and affection, and she was named as Bua Bodhan, and she was married to the ruler of Nurpur. And similarly we find that he Ranjit Dev jo the, he also forbade his queens to perform sati after his death. And it is the fact that none of his queen, when Ranjit Dev died, none of his queen performed sati. So इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि रंजीत देव, बाकी इंडिया के में अगर हम देखें तो रिफॉर्म, सोशल रिफॉर्म मूवमेंट्स जो है वो 19th सेंचुरी में शुरू हो रही हैं. सती या फीमेल इन्फेंटिसाइड को लेके जो लॉज बनाए गए या उसके खिलाफ जो मूवमेंट शुरू हुई वो 19th सेंचुरी में शुरू हुई, लेकिन जम्मू में रंजीत देव जो है वो 18th सेंचुरी में इसकी शुरुआत कर रहे हैं. So and now I would like to conclude my with a statement of the Hugel, who has written in his work The Travels in the Kashmir and Punjab. He writes that the prosperity of Jammu was at its height under Ranjit Dev, whose mild government extended equal protection to the Hindus and Muslims, while the Punjab was overrun by the horrors of war. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, because of some problem, I couldn't display my PowerPoint presentation. And there was, in the beginning, there was a lot of disruption. I don't know why. I couldn't explain everything in a much better way. I'm really
thank you.
sorry.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Varsha. It was really an insightful session. And it went, despite of the little bit IT, as we say, we always have some or the other issues, but it went very smoothly, and I'm sure everybody will agree with me. Meanwhile, if anybody in the audience would like to ask any question on the session today, please let us know and we can take your questions. We have
I think Vijay ji has a question.
Vijay ji is notoriously known for asking questions everywhere. Okay, anyway, Dr. Varsha Gupta, unfortunately, I've never met you before. I hope that was not the case. You said something very interesting, at least from my point of view. We always debated that all the routes to Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, after we start talking about Maharaja Gulab Singh, they all came from Pakistani Punjab, today's Pakistani Punjab,
Yes, yes.
to J&K. And
Yes.
we very proudly announced that the route from Lakhanpur to Jammu was a mere cart track, and thereafter you had to climb up the Pir Panjals and Johar tunnels and what have you. And we said that was non-existence. That was the narrative that we built up, saying that J&K should have gone to Pakistan as per the political dispensation which ruled Jammu and Kashmir for 70 years has made us believe. But this new aspect of a new route which you've given is a very, very interesting and good insight which needs to be highlighted in a very with a very prominent manner. Now, you told us that the route started from Nahan, it came to Bilaspur, Kangra, Nurpur or Bhadrawa, and then to...
Not Bhadrawa, it was Bilaspur, then Basauli, Nurpur, then
Bilaspur,
Basauli.
Kangra, Basauli, Nurpur, Basauli, and then on to your Mansar and Jammu.
Jammu.
Can you tell us what was after that to Srinagar? Because since if this route was being used regularly by the traders as a safer route, we would like to know what that route was. And then of course,
from Jammu,
Varsha, you've given us a lot of references which I'd like to collect from you, because that is what we were always crying for, references, because whenever we go out in the rest of the India in a national seminars, people ask for references. So even your Professor Rekha Chaudhary was in one such seminar with me about 10 years back when we had almost a fight on this. So you please give us the references also and let us know what was the route from Jammu to Srinagar as per Raja Ranjit Singh's time.
Raja Ranjit Dev's time.
Yeah.
So from Jammu, the same route which later on which was followed during the reign of the Maharajas.
Okay.
Which was followed during the reign of the Maharajas. That passed from Jammu, then
Jammu, Ramnagar,
then
and Banhal and
across. Banhal,
okay.
Banhal. That passed through the Bengal.
Perfect. I think there's a very good input we got. Yeah.
So Virender ji has a comment to make. Virender ji, please, if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. First, my apologies. I'm from Britain, and I'm a student of history. So that's where I was so delighted to hear the last part because I missed the early part. And I'm sure Lalit will pass on the notes to all of us. First question was that the references which my previous speaker has already asked for. Secondly, that where Ranjit Singh, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, known as Ranjit Dev Singh, I never read that in Punjab history, which I studied up to the graduation level. Ranjit Singh was known as Ranjit Dev Singh because a section of the Sikh community probably would not agree with it, but that name certainly given me some excitement to know and where that can be found historically.
Sir, I just want to say that Ranjit Dev was a different ruler and he ruled in the 18th century. He was not Maharaja Ranjit. Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab was a different ruler and Ranjit Dev of Jammu was a different ruler.
My apologies because I was not aware of that. I'm not. So that's why I got mixed up.
18th century. Yeah.
That's why I got mixed up. That's the clarification.
And the references are, there are so many references in which we get the reference to, reference to the Raja Ranjit Dev of Jammu. First of all, there is one work, Raj Darshni, which has been written by Ganesh Das Vadera. Ganesh Das Vadera, and he wrote this. This is an official history of the Jammu, which was written by Ganesh Das Vadera, Raj Darshni, and he wrote it on the instructions of Maharaja Gulab Singh of Jammu.
Okay.
Then there is another work. This work was again written in 1846 by G.C. Smith. The name of the work is The Reigning Family of Lahore.
G.C. Smith. Okay.
And then there is one more work by George Foster. It's a travel account. He was an employee in the English East India Company, and he passed through Jammu in 1783. The name of his account is A Journey from Bengal to England. Then another work is The History of Punjab Hill States by Hutchison and Wobble. But in this work, we get a very sketchy account of Ranjit Dev. And then, of course, we also get a lot of information in the works of Sukhdev Singh Chadak sir, the history and culture of the Himalayan states.
Thank you very much for that clarification, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to briefly listen to you, but I will certainly love to read it more as outside Jammu and Kashmir. Maybe that historical facts are not widely known. I'm sure that Professor others will agree with me that in Punjab and outside Jammu and Kashmir, that historical facts are not widely known. And I think that is where it should be important that we involve others to get this knowledge shared. And thank you very much for Varshaji for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Viren sir. We have a question by, I think, Harbans Singh sir. He was raising his hand. Harbans sir, are you there?
Yes. Namaskar. First of all, I must thank Varsha for bringing out a very important aspect. I'm glad she mentioned about calling that route heritage route. Any route so significant to trade, commerce, and prosperity of a region surely deserves to be named as heritage route so that other developments also follow in that route. But I would also like to add another minor point. ये जो रूट है इसको अगर हम बड़े ध्यान से देखें पूरे रूट को, राइट आफ्टर नाहन जितने भी हिल स्टेट्स आई हैं उनका गोल्डन पीरियड जो है वो इस पीरियड में आया है. The revenue those small states generated from, I believe, the toll that they got from the caravans, that was the reason for their prosperity. But the good thing was that they used it for the development of art and culture. All these hill states, the famous Pahari miniature paintings, they are the product of this period. So we owe a lot to Maharaja Ranjit Dev for having the wisdom and the strength to develop this route, give protection, and also patronage to men of art and literature. शर्मा जी ने कहा कि बहुत कम जो है जम्मू के बाहर जो है पर्टिकुलरली पंजाब में बहुत कम पता है इस स्टेट के इतिहास के बारे में. ये फैक्ट है. We are very little in number. We are heavily outnumbered. And in normal times, we are otherwise also overwhelmed by the Punjab. The result is कि हिस्ट्री वही कहलाती है जो पंजाब में लिखी जाती है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली जम्मू में, और बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है कि जब हम कोट करते हैं किसी भी जगह पर गुलाबनामा को, तो उसे ये कहकर डिसमिस कर दिया जाता है कि ये तो उनके राज में लिखवाया गया था, इसलिए जो है नॉट रिलायबल. लेकिन अकबर, बाबर, अकबर, जहांगीर, सभी के, या इवन महाराजा रंजीत सिंह के टाइम में भी जो कुछ कोर्ट के लोगों ने लिखा, that becomes a document which is the ultimate proof of whatever is being written by that historians. So I'm glad some people are coming up, and the International Dogra Society has taken up this challenge. जो भी थोड़ा बहुत चाहे टिटबिट्स की फॉर्म में आए हमारे पास, that is all very valuable. And this session, for me, it was important from one aspect, that we tend to believe that Dogra history means Maharaja Gulab Singh and comes to an end at Maharaja Hari Singh. It doesn't. It has a longer memory, it goes deep into history, and there have been periods, even I think Varsha will agree with me, prior to Maharaja Ranjit Dev, Dhruv Dev was the first person who showed this ambition of uniting all the hill states of Jammu region and forging a Dogra state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We have Baloria raising hand, and we also have Govardhan, sir. So we'll start with Baloria. You want to unmute yourself? Baloria, we can't hear you.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Hi, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. My question, Varsha ma'am, is that in 1761, Battle of Panipat has happened. And the most important consequence of this battle was that it had created a political vacuum in North India. My question is, did Battle of Panipat in any manner alter the political history of Jammu and Kashmir also? Because it was
Hello?
also the time period of Ranjit Dev.
Hello? Could you repeat your question?
Hello?
Hello, could you repeat your question? I was not able to. Actually, there is a lot of disruption in my
Sure.
system.
Okay. Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yes.
I mean, 1761, Battle of Panipat has happened. And the most important consequence of this particular battle was that it had created a political vacuum in North India.
Yeah.
Now, my question is that did this Battle of Panipat in any manner also alter the political history of Jammu and Kashmir, because it was also the time period of Maharaja Ranjit Dev? So did it had any impact on the region also?
Yes, of course, it has the impact upon the politics of Jammu. First thing I want to just clear कि at this time Jammu और कश्मीर जो थे, they were वो दोनों अलग-अलग regions थे. They were ruled by the different rulers. तो जम्मू के पॉलिटिक्स पे ऑफ कोर्स एक बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट पड़ा है, क्योंकि हम देखते हैं, मैंने इसमें बताया है आपको कि इस पीरियड में बैटल ऑफ पानीपत के बाद हम देखते हैं कि पंजाब और उसका जो आगे नेबरिंग जो रीजन्स थे वो अहमद शाह अब्दाली के कब्जे में आ गए. तो उसमें हम देखते हैं कि यहाँ पे सिख जो थे, they also rendered it difficult for Ahmad Shah Abdali to ensure a stable administration in the Punjab. ठीक है, और अहमद शाह अब्दाली का भी कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था पंजाब में अपने लिए एक इंडियन एम्पायर क्रिएट करने का. तो उसका एक पूरा फायदा जो है, क्योंकि पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रक्चर एकदम से शैटर्ड है, तो उसका फायदा जो है वो हिल स्टेट्स उठा रहे हैं. हिल स्टेट्स के चीफ ने क्या किया, उन्होंने ना सिर्फ अपनी इंडिपेंडेंस को असर्ट किया, क्योंकि पहले वो दे वर अंडर द सुपरमेसी ऑफ द मुगल्स. अब अफगान्स का जब रूल आ रहा है तो वो एक नॉमिनल रूल था, कोई प्रैक्टिकली उसने बहुत इम्पोज नहीं किया था अपने आप को वहां पे. तो वहां पे उन्होंने नॉट ओनली दे असर्टेड देयर इंडिपेंडेंस, बट दे आल्सो स्टार्टेड एक्सपेंडिंग देयर टेरिटरीज. दे आल्सो रिवाइविंग रिक्लेमिंग दोज टेरिटरीज व्हिच दे वर डिप्राइव्ड ड्यूरिंग द रेन ऑफ द मुगल्स. सो वहां पे आप देखो तो पूरा एक एक्सपेंशन हो रहा है जम्मू का अंडर रंजीत देव.
If I
I
may
hope,
add, Varsha, if I may add something, though
can
I had
be.
a different point to ask, that we'll do it later once Lalit allows me for that. But over here, like you just told us, ki because of that, those three major incidents in the history,
Yeah.
this became a Darul Aman.
Yes.
Okay. And you said Raja Ranjit Dev was a very large-hearted man who accommodated the widows of those Muslims who were shattered in Punjab. He allowed those Khatri families or whatever, all those people. So that is the time probably Muslims came in Jammu. Well, why I'm making this point is there's nothing to do with religion per se, but you know what? When we say the demographic structure of Jammu is to be restored, that is the time the argument comes from Kashmir that Muslims have been kicked out of Jammu at a later part in history after Gulab Singh. So now we have to tell them, hey, look, Muslims first time came to Jammu at the time of Raja Ranjit Dev, and that was 1733 onwards, and when those events were taking place. Otherwise, Jammu was a purely, let's say, Hindu region. If I'm wrong, please let me know about it.
Even Muslims जो है वो settle हो रहे हैं जम्मू में prior to Ranjit Dev also. We the Pir Mitha, who was a Sufi saint.
So that is what I'm saying. Ranjit Dev, you said Ranjit Dev got them settled there, and he was checking their well-being and everything. He was giving them refuge. So that.
लेकिन उससे पहले भी हमें उससे पहले भी instances मिलते हैं जम्मू में जब Muslims आ रहे हैं और even many of the Sufi saints they even settled in Jammu also.
And they were coming from which side? Are they coming from
Punjab, mostly from Punjab, because Jammu जो था it is in close proximity to Punjab. तो पंजाब का पूरा जो पंजाब में जो developments हो रही हैं, तो culturally जम्मू का जो ज़्यादा intake वो जो था वो पंजाब के साथ था.
So the point remains, whenever they came later, let's say 16th century, 17th century, 18th century.
Yes.
It was not the original habitat of Jammu that the people of Kashmir today very vehemently say that we have to do demographic restoration of Jammu. That is why 100 plus mosques and blah, 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 Rohingyas and all those things which we talk about. So that is an argument to be given them, isn't it?
लेकिन अगर राजौरी या पुंछ का अगर हम लेते हैं राजौरी या पुंछ का लेते हैं तो Muslims तो already वहाँ पे थे even from the time of Mughals.
No, but the point is, Varsha, where did they come from? In Kashmir itself, it was Raja Rinchen who for the first time
he embraced Islam. Yes, he embraced Islam.
And that was 1300 something. It was not some ages पहले का नहीं था.
लेकिन सर उससे पहले भी कश्मीर में आ रहे थे क्योंकि हम देखते हैं कि कश्मीरी जो rulers थे they employed the Turks in their armies.
They were coming from Persia and all.
And
Persia,
even
Central Asia.
Even Kalhan has mentioned that in his Rashtra.
Exactly. So that is what I'm trying to say. So that region was something different, and these were not connected. But as far as Jammu is concerned, today's argument that no, Muslims have all the rights. Of course, there are different arguments for and against. Professor Hariom यहाँ नहीं है, Ankur Sharma यहाँ नहीं है. Otherwise, debate शुरू हो जाती. But my point is, let's try to understand. Whenever somebody is giving us a demographic argument, we should be able to counter it. That is one. Secondly, आपने जो heritage route के बारे में बताया है ना, something very interesting thing has just come to my mind. If you start from Nahan and come to Bilaspur, Kangra, come down to Nurpur, Basauli, this is what is all Dogra region all about. Yes. And what अपना संभ्याल सर ने बताया जो अभी, he talked about the culture and art. And we talked about miniature paintings. Miniature paintings are as much as Basauli. Basauli miniature.
So that I just want to add one thing. Even the temples of Babur and Krimchi are also on this route.
So what I'm trying to conclude is that because of Raja Ranjit Dev, who was so benevolent in whatever ways you already explained to us, I mean, Dogra region got consolidated.
Yes.
At one point in time, at least culturally, if not politically. Is that a right conclusion?
Even politically also it was consolidated because he brought all the hill states under his influence.
No, but we had the principalities. Kangra was a different, this thing, Nurpur was a different, even Bhadrava was different. So there were principalities maybe under him when he was the ruler. Politically may not be there, but culturally we are all Dogras, right from Nahan down to Jammu, or let's say even why Jammu, Batot tak jaoge aap. So we all Dogras. And even to other sides. And that probably this is the first time when the integration took place.
Hmm.
So what do you say on that? Right or wrong?
No, no,
Yes,
it's
sir.
right.
Yes,
Culturally,
yes.
culturally,
Yes, sir. Sabyal, sir.
Should I come in, Lalit?
Sir, please, you don't need to.
I think this debate is taking us away from the topic, number one. Number two, if we mean that it was a Hindu region and Hindus only inhabited, and those people who were inhabiting this land in the BC, only they had a right on this place, that is absolutely wrong. The conversion, the Muslims, few Muslims came from outside India and settled here, and a large number, they became converts. The local people, they converted to Islam. People, Jammu and Lahore always had very close connection. Nahan and Delhi always had very close connection. Nahan had the responsibility of providing ice to the Mughal rulers. Every day camels used to move from Nahan to Delhi, and fresh ice would reach the palace there. So these places were already under the control of the Muslim rulers. And the point that Kashmiris say this or that I think is irrelevant to the subject here, because that takes us away. History, I know, history is what the politicians need it today. What the politicians need it today to be. That becomes history, but that is not history. You have to be a scientific investigator of facts of the past to become a historian. You cannot interpolate your present needs, your present justifications in the past and then present them as facts. They are two different things. The fact is that Maharaja Ranjit Dev, he provided refuge to everybody, irrespective of the religion. And many other Dogra rulers, they provided refuge to Muslims. Many of the past Dogra rulers, they invited the Topchis, who were Muslims from Punjab. Many of the Afghans were invited here to settle. Look at the history of Jammu, city itself. Don't go beyond city. Look at the number of mohallas which were Muslim-dominated mohallas. They were all professionals, highly qualified people. And the backbone of the state before the communal virus struck them in 1947. So let us please leave that debate apart and focus on some of the facts of the past and celebrate those facts. Thank you very much.
We also have Govardhan sir raising the hand. Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Govardhan sir, aap mute.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now. Namaskar.
Okay. I think another very good talk today, and Varsha ji, you are very close where I am sitting, but I didn't know that Jammu University has also started contributing something to the geography. That's a very, very good news, a very fresh thing. And now we hope there will be many questions. Now Vijay has thrown, and in my mind also some questions have come, but we won't burden you today. But one or two things come to my mind. One is this Shivalik reason. I, as a soldier, with all my soldierly background, I feel this Shivalik has something very special for a soldier. Whether you put on uniform or not, more or less all the Shivalikites from Nahan right up to Rajouri, this is all Shivalik. And now you have told us the route behind the earth through the middle of the Shivaliks. That means this route was guarded by the Dogras of the Shivaliks. Why so? To my mind, it looks that from the plains, there were a lot of raids from Punjab, all along the foothills of the Shivaliks in the plains. So that route, which we now call it the Jammu, Kathua, Pathankot route, probably was never taken for trade or for general route to even Jammu. So they took that route. That was one reason to my mind, because most of these invaders came right from whatever time, Alexander, Timur. Now you say that Timur also came in this route, by this route, but we are also told that he went to all through Sialkot, Wazirabad, Lahore, and all these foothills were also covered in that. So I thought Shivaliks were always considered safe because these invaders and their troops found it very difficult. They were very rugged hills, very tough, and with all thorns, snakes, and whatever you have, and no water. That's how the Dogras stayed here, became very tough, and they became very good soldiers. And they took part in almost all the battles we won or lost, right from Porus onwards. So I think this needs a lot of study, the Shivaliks, and the extent of the Shivaliks. Also, most of the warrior soldier class is also from here. Now, of course, it's all over everywhere, but that period, 200 to 300 years before 47, most of these soldiers, I find, maximum soldiers and good soldiers and even good commanders, good even generals later on. Of course, earlier there were no generals in the Indian Army. Indian Army, the maximum rank was Subedar Major, whereas we had generals. Zorawar Singh, General Hoshiara, one of the best generals in Gilgit, General Baj Singh, who laid down his life in Chitral only because his troops had gone and he was not even required there. And they are all Shivaliks. Rajendra Singh, all these are Shivaliks. So Shivaliks has something in the roots. One thing I would like to know, if you have this information, sometimes the British wanted to reach Srinagar of Marai Gulab Singh's or Kashmir, earlier part they say. I don't know, East India Company or something, they said we want to go to Kashmir, and he always kept them away from Kashmir. He knew that if they came to Kashmir, Kashmir is somewhat like England or Europe, so they wouldn't go back. So I am told once some delegation came and they wanted to go, he sent them through Ramnagar and the hills, the Shivaliks, and kept on. And finally they said, we don't want to go to Kashmir. If this is the route and this is the Kashmir, he said, this is like this only. I don't know whether there is any truth or has this ever been also studied or researched, or it was only one of those rumors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We would just now like to ask if anybody else would like to have any questions before we say thank you to Varsha ji for the session.
Does it put not a question, but Harvanshji knows me or we have met, so he knows my background. Varsha, I'm from Britain. I'm a member of parliament here in the UK. So my interest is more political. I'm shifting it from the issue we are discussing, but because there's so many historians on the panel here, and I can see that we face a very serious argument in Britain. That is whether Kashmir is part of India or part of Pakistan, or should be an independent country between Pakistan and Britain. It's a serious debate in Britain, where person like me will say, because I born in India, brought up in India, now over 50 years in British politics continuously, I always hold this view that Jammu and Kashmir or that region is part of India, and no Indian government can politically afford, whether they are BJP, Congress, or anybody, can politically afford to give it to Pakistan, or just say, wash their hands and say, look, sorry, we can't handle the situation. I don't want the debate, but I will be certainly interested when I can see so many historians sitting here who has done a lot of work. If there's any kind of advice you can, written documents, any papers written on that with arguments to person like me to say, look, hold on, Harbans Singh has written the history and here it is, that it is part of India, or there is an element of negotiations which way Kashmiris should go. I hope that I made my point clear. As you were arguing as historians, I'm a politician, so I have to put an issue which sometimes is not properly understood. I need that advice. I need that information so that when I go in the chamber to discuss that, then I can put my argument. But I have so far, in the last over 10 years, kept this view that Jammu and Kashmir and that region is part of India, and nobody can take it away from India. So any Harbans Singh ji, you and Varsha ji, I don't want the debate, but certainly I needed that advice.
Just before I put it on to Harbans sir, I think he has a point. I'll say what Viren ji just said. I would just add, here in UK Parliament, a lot of debates are organized, and we only have Viren Sharma ji and Bob Blackman, who stand by Jammu and Kashmir, who speak about Jammu and Kashmir as a part of India, and they have stuck with it. And that's why I think today what he's asking is the more information which can be given to them to fight our case here would be more helpful. Even it can be in form of emails. If some papers or some documents needs to be sent later, I can always share sir's email with you all. But now over to Harbans sir.
If you send me the email, I'll be providing you more information. But a very quick point here. When the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir was convened, the opening remarks of Sheikh Abdullah, they are very significant. It was categorically stated that Jammu and Kashmir is part of India. The reasons given were that Jammu and Kashmir shares the ideals which India holds dear to its heart. What were those ideals? Number one, socio-economic reforms. Number two, secularism. Number three, liberalism. These were the three pillars on which modern India was built. On the other hand, everybody knew that no reforms are economic reforms, socio-economic reforms are going to take place in Pakistan. They haven't taken place even today. The difference between India and Pakistan, the basic difference is that in India, the political power has been diffused. It is spread all over. It is shared by all communities, by all regions and all people. In Pakistan, the political power is still in the rural areas which are controlled by the landed aristocracy, which has not allowed anybody, notwithstanding that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto used to present himself as a socialist. No land reform has taken place in Pakistan. The strongest point was the statement of Sheikh Abdullah. The legal point was that Maharaja of the state had signed the document of accession. Whatever moral authority was needed after that from the people. That was provided by Sheikh Abdullah in his speech. It is not an interpretation, it's a speech, recorded speech, documented speech, which gives in detail why J&K will be part of India. I think there is no better proof than that speech. But I'll be sending you some reference books so that you may look at them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So you may share with all of us, and we can discuss.
I will.
Yes, yes. And Virender sir, आपने बोला था कि डिबेट नहीं करनी है, otherwise यहाँ पे फटाफट डिबेट शुरू हो जाती. और as Lalit told you, because this is a hot subject today, removal of Article 370, it's a wrong word, sir. Article 370 is very much part of Indian Constitution even today, sir. It is a de-operationalization of 370, sir. अगर कल को टेक्निकली स्पीक,
मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, मैं तो बैठा हूँ, सुन रहा हूँ. मैंने बोलना नहीं है, मैंने सुनना है. ये ललित बताएगा कि अगर टाइम है तो मैं तो सुनने के लिए तैयार हूँ.
नहीं, मैं आपसे जूम पे आ जाऊंगा सर. यहाँ पे एक डिबेट होती है जम्मू एंड कश्मीर वर्सेस रेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया. दूसरी डिबेट होती है जम्मू वर्सेस कश्मीर, सर. एंड बोथ हैव दे गॉट रियल डायनामिक्स अबाउट इट, सर. एंड लॉट्स ऑफ प्रूफ्स गिवन हियर एंड देयर. बट अल्टीमेटली बात वही आ जाती है, जैसे समयाल साहब ने बोला कि डिबेट नहीं करने, हिस्ट्री को स्टडी करो. बट अल्टीमेटली वो हिस्ट्री काउंट होती है. और हिस्ट्री काउंटर में मजेदार बात सर ये है कि आप कितना पीछे जाओगे, आप कब तक जाओगे, अल्टीमेटली आप कहाँ पहुंचते हो. दे गिव यू, एक जोक सुनाता हूँ सर आप सब लोगों को मैं. दिस वाज प्रॉब्ली, बताया ये जाता है कि एक यूएन की मीटिंग थी और वहां पे एक आर्मी जनरल वाज रिप्रेजेंटिंग इंडिया ऑन सम टॉपिक, एंड एज यूजुअल पाकिस्तानी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव उठता ही शुरू हो गया कश्मीर कश्मीर कश्मीर. तो व्हेन आर्मी जनरल्स टर्न केम, he said, before I tell everything about anything, I will give you an incident. He says कि वो राजधरंगनी में लिखा हुआ है कि कश्मीर वैली वाज अ लेक वंस अपॉन अ टाइम. वो एक सांप था, बहुत तंग कर रहा था, उसको मारना था. वो कहानी सुनी हुई हमने, दैट्स हाउ द वैली वाज फॉर्म्ड. तो कहते हैं उस लेक में क्या हुआ कि कुछ हिंदुस्तानी लोग थे, वो नहाने गए वहां पे, और जब वो बाहर आए तो उनके कपड़े गायब थे. जैसे कौन ले गया, इसे पाकिस्तानियों ने चोरी कर लिए थे. तो इमीडिएटली दैट Pakistani representative got up. He said, no, we were not there at that time. And then the gentleman says that sets off the tone of the thing. They themselves say that it was part of India and not Pakistan. Now what are they talking about? So ये अब ये मजाक है, सच है, स्टोरी है, पता नहीं मेरे को सर. But this is what is going around. So that
कुछ लोग सच ही मानेंगे.
Yes, and this is what all debates are done on. यानी कि आपने इमोशंस पे ज्यादा काम करना है और brass tracks पे बात नहीं करनी है. So anyway, we'll interact more on this, sir, and maybe we'll interact.
I love to that. I need it because I am part of that debate regularly here.
Yes, sir. And I sought my freedom only last year, sir. तो पिछले साल तक मैं गुलाम था. तो अब मैं बोल सकता हूँ सर. इसलिए आपने देखा होगा मेरा वॉल्यूम सबसे ज्यादा होता है. And समयाल सर को बताया.
We have Ajay Shri Singh. He has just raised his hand. Ajay Shri Singh Sambyal, please unmute yourself and you can come on camera for your question.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
वीरेंद्र सर ने एक बात की, मुझे एक इंटरेस्टिंग सी सर एक लाइन याद आ गई, कोट था, मैंने पढ़ा था एक्चुअली. बैटल ऑफ चित्राल 1895, हरवंश सिंह ज्यादा अच्छा बताएंगे उसके बारे में. 1895 की बैटल ऑफ चित्राल हुई थी. तो उसमें एक सर एक चीज मेंशन आई थी कि जब ब्रिटिश जो ऑफिसर था वो जब उनको हरा के जो उनके गिलगित लोगों के पास पहुंचा था, चित्रालीस के पास, तो उन्होंने उनको पूछा कि आपके साथ ये इतना बुरा करते हैं ये पठान, क्योंकि पठान सर वहां के साथ में था, उनके जो आपका जो नॉर्थ वेस्ट फ्रंटियर एरिया है उनके वहां पे आते थे, रेड्स करते थे. तो उन्होंने कहा क्योंकि उस चित्राल की जो बैटल के दौरान जो आपके चित्रालीस थे उन्होंने अफगान का सपोर्ट किया. तो ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर उनको कहता है कि आपने उनका सपोर्ट क्यों किया, वो आपको इतना आपकी वुमेन का रेप करते हैं, आपको इतना आपके साथ इतना दरिंदगी करते हैं. उन्होंने बोला क्या करें सर, मजबूरी है, वो पावरफुल है, इसलिए हमें उनके साथ सर झुकाना पड़ता है, वरना हम उनसे जितनी नफरत हम करते हैं उतना कोई नहीं करते. तो मैं ये कहता था आज जो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान का जो कंटेक्स्ट है उसको खैबर पख्तूनख्वा कैसे बनाया जा रहा है, उसको जोड़ा जा रहा है। 1895 के टाइम पे भी सर कभी भी जो आपके जो गिलगित के रीजन के लोग थे वो भी कभी उनको पसंद नहीं करते थे, कभी उनके साथ एसोसिएट नहीं करते थे। तो उनका एसोसिएशन ज्यादा हमारी तरफ था, rather than उनकी तरफ तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं था। अगर कोई कहे हमारी तरफ नहीं था तो उनकी तरफ तो सर एसोसिएशन था ही नहीं उनका बिल्कुल भी। वो तो तब भी उनसे हेट करते थे, वो मजबूरी में फिर बाद में ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट ने जो आपके जो ऑफिसर्स थे, मेजर ब्राउन थे, उन्होंने जो कॉन्स्पिरेसी खेली पाकिस्तान के साथ मिलके खेली, वो अलग चीज है। लेकिन पहले से ही कभी भी जो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के भी लोग हैं सर, उनका भी कभी कोई ना कल्चरल है, रिलीजियस था, लेकिन कल्चरल कभी भी उनके साथ कोई एफिलिएशन नहीं रहा है, हमेशा हेट का रिलेशनशिप ही रहा था। वो जबरदस्ती ब्रिटिशर्स ने इनको एक साथ लाया, वो अलग बात है, लेकिन कभी भी उनके साथ कभी कल्चरल उनके साथ दिखाया जाता है कि गिलगित बल्तिस्तान एक ही है, पाकिस्तान है, खैबर पख्तूनख्वा एक ही है, ऐसा कभी नहीं था। तब भी वो हेट करते थे, आज भी आप देख लो सर, आज भी हेट ही कर रहे हैं उनसे, वो सप्रेशन की वजह से। जी सर,
थैंक यू अजय।
Thank you. I think we've had enough discussion for today. If no other questions, we would like to say thank you to all of you, and special thank you to Varsha Gupta ji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining in.
Thanks, Lalit. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Lalit, for letting me to come in and as a non-Dogra.
It is for everybody. That's why we are international.
Thank you, Virender Sharma ji. I'm a Dogra, but then I was a, देश निकाला दिया हुआ था. 42 years के बाद वापस आया हूँ. I'm a soldier basically, and I've done 2 PhDs, so that is how my knowledge थोड़ी बहुत है इसके बारे में.
That's wonderful. I'm a good student, I can assure you that. Harvanshi ji can vouch for it.
I'll connect you all over emails.
Yes. Pass on Lalit, and we will keep in touch because it's important. I'm sorry, I got only 1 minute to share that. It's very important. The knowledge shared with especially the people who follow your argument, the people who participate in the debates, they need that information. Not only me, I was going to say, Lalit, we need to have that historical fact, what Varsha ji was saying earlier on. Harvanshi have said many times, I have heard him previously, that we need to pass on this information. That literature need to be circulated. Because many people, I think I am not boasting, but I think I'm well read on the history. But still, there was the issues like, though I am out of date now, not daily involved in the reading the history. I got mixed up earlier on. But I feel that literature, information, the papers written by scholars like yourself need to be circulated so that more information we pass on, especially to the white Europeans. Muslim, Pakistani origin, Muslim, my colleagues, they will just shut their eyes. Whether they are liberal, they are labor, they are conservatives, they just follow on one line. Kashmir, there's a violation of human rights. There's Kashmiri women are raped day and night. There's no, children are not safe. They will believe that. But unless we give the white people, they just follow it. There's a vote politics. Who got more votes? Who got more members? And they just follow it. My person like myself have done it for so long. Don't give a damn. Bob Blackman, conservative MP, a good friend of mine. We both work together on those issues. So that's where we need that information. Maximum literature. Now it's easy emails, you just pass on. And Lalit, we need to have those lectures in the House of Commons where we invite other MPs and other interested bodies to share that information. It's a hot topic in Britain, where the majority people still running away from COVID-19, have nothing much to contribute, they take this easy route so that they can satisfy their constituents. That we are talking about Kashmir every day, these Hindus have killed it. So that kind of thing. That's why we need that information, and I certainly will honor that opportunity to have that information shared to me so that I can use it.
Sure. I'll connect you all. Thank you
you
so much for today's session.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Okay, namaskar.